extreme driver for growth in this area. And then lastly, I had the opportunity to go to some really great schools, get a good education, but it wasn't always that way. So I grew up in a bad school district in Pennsylvania, and my parents, like many parents that live in the city, they ended up moving into the suburbs, and it changed me 180 degrees. I like to joke that if they hadn't moved to the suburbs, I'd be the smartest criminal in Pennsylvania. But they did. But they did move to the suburbs. But and I got to go on and do some great education. But I don't think that a child should be condemned to a bad education just because of their zip code. And so I think we need to make sure that parents stay involved in their children's education. And I'm ashamed that we have to say that these days, but there are people that don't want that. And I think we have to implement school choice. I mean,
charter schools.
Well, it could be charter school. I think the money should follow the child. So if charter school is what you want, charter schools, if you want to use it to subsidize a private school, subsidize a private school. If you want to go, there are many people that will still go to public school because there are some great public schools, but it'll force them to compete. And everybody's going to get better when you do that. I'm not going to Washington to become a TikTok sensation or get famous on YouTube or be a loudmouth, because I think we have enough of those down there already. I want to go and get results. I want to, unlike our current representative, I want to represent your views, and I want to advocate for what you believe is needed. And so, I hope you'll support me. Hopefully there are petitions going around that need signatures. If not, I have some, more than a few. And if anyone's willing to volunteer, I have some extras that you could take to your friends and family. But I hope you'll support me in this process. I hope you'll support me in the general election. And I don't know, I don't want to hijack your meeting, so if I can answer questions if you want, we could.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say, it is nice to always hear specific examples of what you would do, which you already listed out, so thank you for that. A lot of politicians, they just go, sunshine and rainbows, and everyone goes, oh yeah, fantastic. So it's good, you're saying we have to reach nuclear energy, which is something I don't know why everyone who wants to be green, they don't want to move to nuclear for whatever reason.
No, despite the fact that it's the greenest energy here.
Yeah,
This,
has to do with money, right?
The technology has improved phenomenally, so that it's probably less safe to live near a chemical facility than it is to live near a nuclear power plant.
Absolutely.
These days because of
That is
how
absolutely true.
The technology has improved so much.
Does anyone have any questions for James?
You have a YouTube video that came out, was it a couple days ago?
It wasn't a YouTube video, but it's on my website. There is a video on my
Yeah, I
website.
played that. You're much better looking on YouTube than in real life. Go out and look at it.
That's what my wife says too.
In about a minute and a half, he hits every point, and it's really well done. There's wipes, it shows everything was really, really done artistically well to engage the audience. So whoever put that together for you did really, really well. Made you look great.
I'm sorry, say your name again for us. Because
James Hayes. James Hayes. Yeah.
James, I agree with you on nuclear energy. I did my career in nuclear safety.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
I can tell you everything you want to know. We will be in touch.
All right, we'll have you come testify.
Okay.
The sad thing, my son-in-law works for Westinghouse and he does nuclear
Oh, yeah.
for China. He's been to China multiple times,
Yes.
but he doesn't do that many plants in the United States. That's sad.
Well, the only two that we're building
Okay.
here, we're gonna be finished is Vogtle 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
isn't that sad?
it's interesting, China's, you wonder if China isn't funding all of these environmental groups because they're doing coal.
No, it's the other way around.
They're-
All the environmental groups are funding environmental activities in China. There's an excellent book on this.
Huh.
Peter Navarro's book, Coming China Wars. And then there's a more recent version of it as well.
They have like whole areas, it's just like solar farms, like just solar powered panels, it's like multi-city sized. It's the ugliest thing you could ever see.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like,
The ugliest thing ever.
who's gonna want that? It like burns up the
Right.
birds.
Yeah, it's terrible.
The
So
windmills
ugly.
kill the bats, I mean.
Well, the adverse environmental impact of both solar and wind is unbelievably bad. Germany is just now learning that. and to familiarize yourself with what's going on in wind energy and why they canceled all the wind farms off of our east coast. That's a very good argument for.
My wife and I took sailing lessons over the summer.
Okay.
So if you wanna see like people that are less positive on wind and solar, talk to sailors.
Yes.
Because they use that engine a lot.
That's a very good point.
With that being said, you probably know that Westinghouse is gonna build eVinci here in Etna.
Mhm, yes.
Right, okay, and there's a whole bunch of funding's been approved for that, it's just a matter of time until it touches everyone else.
But, you know, even the hydrogen hub, you see that they're talking about icing out Pittsburgh-based hydrogen because it's natural gas. So we wouldn't be.
Don't you get hydrogen from natural?
Yeah,
Natural gas,
but there are other ways to get it, so they call it red hydrogen and green hydrogen.
That's nonsense.
And so, red hydrogen is coming from natural gas, green hydrogen, I think it's like very expensive, it's not even.
We need a
energy-
nuclear power plant to make it.
It's not, I was gonna say, it's not energy positive because you're taking it out of like heavy water or something, so it's,
I mean, calling it red hydrogen does make it sound really bad. You
it's
know?
Republican hydrogen.
Yeah.
It's great,
Republican
it's
It's
great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a really loaded question.
Sure,
I was watching Tim Scott last night,
yes, ma'am.
and they're going after him and calling him all kinds of names because he's a black conservative, who, by the way, just got engaged to a white lady, and that doesn't matter. But you make a wonderful presentation, you do. How do you get all those people who thought Summer Lee was so grand in the black community to realize you're the real deal and she's not helping them? So what do you do? It's just like Tim Scott. I mean, they came after him and, you know, called him all kinds of names because he backed out of the election and now he's supporting Trump, and they just are trying to, what do you do as a black gentleman? How do you overcome that?
So first of all, you know, everyone talks about, hey, we have to all get along, we have to stop the divisiveness, but it takes two to tango, and we don't usually start it, right? We don't usually start it, and I think what people like about Trump is, you know, they say something bad to us and we kind of cower in the corner and walk away. Trump will,
Yeah.
he's gonna have him back, right? And so, and it's a blood sport. So what do you do? Look, you're not gonna get, everyone's not gonna agree with you.
Jesus proved that. I'm letting you know, it is a battle. It's a spiritual battle, and you've got to knuckle down for it.
You have to be willing to resist. You have to be willing to resist. You know, Larry Elder, when he ran for governor, he became the black face of white supremacy. Like, to me, that is just like the most hilarious thing I ever heard.
Only white liberals could get away with saying something like that, you know?
That's what
It's
they're
the
saying
mo-
about Tim Scott last night, that
Yeah.
that's how he is. You know, it seems like that's the only thing they have, they go after you.
Let me tell you, there is not much I need to do to convince the African American community, because they see what defunding the police, they see what cashless bail is doing to their communities. It is devastating. They see what illegal immigration is, you know, because those are lesser skilled workers that tends to, you know, so it tends to go right to them.
Right.
And I think the border is just one of the biggest tragedies. Somehow the Democrats have reinstituted slavery and made it a virtue.
Yeah, this is tax-funded
Right.
slavery right now.
Well,
We are giving money to the cartel. Like, this is so crazy. We are flying illegal immigrants in
Right.
overnight, first
I know.
class, taxpayer funded. But don't worry, football's on this weekend. You've got a great TV show to watch tonight.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, guys. Just go home.
But
You know,
isn't
let's all
it's
relax.
disheartening when you hear Jerry Nadler sit there and say, well, we need them to pick our lettuce. I mean, are
Oh,
you
so you know what?
kidding me?
Yeah.
He said- did you
Luckily,
see
he
him
did,
say
luckily,
that?
yeah, we need them to, and Ryan
Oh,
Raskin too, we need them to pick our vegetables.
Yes.
Good thing they didn't say cotton, because then it would have been really obvious,
Oh,
right?
my God. When he said that, my
And Nancy
God.
Pelosi, I need them to clean my house. You know, it's,
Trim my bushes.
yeah, it is modern slavery, it's not good for them,
Right.
it's not good for the American worker, and it's not good for the countries.
But
I
yet
mean,
they
it
keep
is-
on voting
It is
Democrat.
exactly what happened to Africa during the 1800s. It hollowed them out, it hollowed out the most entrepreneurial people. Africa still hasn't recovered 200 years later. It is the exact same thing.
Well, things are improving there, but it's got a long way to go.
You know how it's improving? Instead of, slavers having to pay for the slaves to come, the slaves are paying their own way. Yeah, so, it's saving them a buck.
That
It
is so
is
true.
insidious, it
That's
is insidious.
crazy.
But anyway, to get you back on track.
Sure.
Your background is in finance. You went to Georgetown. You probably did a graduate.
Georgetown, so I wanted originally to be a diplomat, so I did the School of Foreign Service, studied international economics, and then I went to the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs and did Masters in Economics and Policy. I joined a bank, and they said those public policy degrees are cute, so we're gonna send you to the business school. So I got an MBA in Finance and Accounting from the University of Chicago, and then I finished up with a Doctorate of Business Administration from Case Western.
Excellent. So how are you gonna bring that to bear in the office you're running for?
So, to me, too few congressmen can think about policy,
Or even economics?
or even economics. Except AOC, who got a degree in economics, she said.
Don't go to BC.
Yeah, trying to imagine that you're trying to explain to her how people having two jobs is not a sign of positive economy. Okay?
So I think it's important to not, like, they all rely on staffers, or worse than that, they rely on lobbyists. And I think it's important to have a background where you can think for yourself. Yeah, you're still gonna get input from these people, but you need to know how to figure out what's up and what's down and what you need to make decisions, rather than relying on the industries with skin in the game to make your decisions for you.
I'll jump ahead to another question. So you've hired staff before, you know how to find staffers who can support your view of policy,
Mhm.
and you would definitely be looking to clean house. And to the point the young lady made earlier, reduce staff.
Yes, and actually, the guy in Argentina, he's like my hero now. You see,
Yeah,
he
the
wiped
new
out six.
president.
He wiped out 6 of the 9 ministries. I think we have to do
Wow.
something like that.
Yes, we agree.
We have-
So going off of that point, how do you feel, now, you worked at the Federal Reserve Bank, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
So how do you feel about them having, control over our currency?
I'm sorry,
And
before you answer
printing
that,
our
what
money?
years were you in the stud, working for the Federal Reserve?
So it was like, it was like 2009 to 2000.
Oh, okay, so you were in
Right
after the shoe fell, okay.
Yeah, the shoe fell, and then they said, hey, can you come out?
Good,
So-
okay.
So how do I feel about the Fed? So obviously, I think the Fed is a great institution, but I'm gonna tell you why. Because we pass, a $1.7 trillion bill, infrastructure bill, and pour all that money into the economy. Joe Biden comes in day one, he signs away an executive order to attack our energy industry. You look at anything around the room and tell me, where energy is not an input, whether it's in that plastic bottle, whether it brought your cans here. Energy is an input into everything. So now you have a driver of inflation in the real economy because you've increased the main input into everything. And you have a driver of inflation in the fiscal economy because you're pouring all these dollars in, or in the monetary economy, you're pouring all these dollars in the economy. So things explode, inflation explodes, and everybody's failed. We've failed because we voted in the wrong people. The Congress has failed because they're spending like drunken sailors. No offense to anyone here that was in the Navy. And things go crazy. So then everybody turns to the Fed. The Fed has one tool.
So when it's
All they can do, they have interest rate. That's all they can do is interest rates. And interest rates is the most clumsy tool for financial management that you could ever imagine, because it can't discriminate. So they raise interest rates, and it's calamity for everyone. But I'll tell you what, if they didn't, we would be Venezuela with hyperinflation. And so people rail at the Fed because, I think one of the Fed chairmen at one point said, yeah, it's our job, when the party's going, it's our job to take the punch bowl away. And that's not fun for anybody, but everybody else failed. Everybody else fails at their job. They're not doing their job. And
Well,
so-
it just, you know, sorry to interrupt you, James, but, it does say in the Constitution
Mhm.
that, you know, the creation of money is supposed to be done by Congress.
Correct.
So I just don't understand why it would be better off for unelected officials that we can't vote for and we can't do anything about. You know, just you going to the US Congress and having a chance to do something about this, I would just beg you to reconsider your position because,
So,
you know, you seem like such a great candidate. and
so,
that-
so let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Knowing what you know about Congress, if Congress had control of the money supply, would you feel confident?
more confident than I would with the Federal Reserve,
Really?
yes, absolutely.
Really? You would?
Because then we could at least.
You look at the runaway deficit.
No way.
You-
That's
you-
Congress.
We would be Weimar Germany if Congress controlled the money
Oh,
supply.
I just think,
Yeah.
but, you know, when are we gonna rip the Band-Aid off? And it seems the feds, you know, their answer to everything is just to print more money. You know, we've printed more money in the last 3 years than ever has existed since the beginning of our country. So really what's happening when the Fed raises inflation, they're just robbing all of our bank accounts.
Fed
and
does not
printing more
raise,
money.
does not raise inflation.
No.
It's a spending
Fed
of Congress.
is always controlling to keep inflation down. That's their job.
Your job is to be a moderator, exactly right. So in Congress, what could we do to reduce the money supply? What can we do to change that?
We need to get our fiscal house in order.
Exactly.
That's all.
I was
mean,
just saying, like with
where do
that
we start?
power belonging to the Fed, it's like, how could we
It doesn't
ever
belong, it
reduce?
actually belongs to the people.
It's just like a runaway train.
People like him in there instead of Summer Lee. I mean, that's the
So,
case. Somebody needs to do
James,
that.
did they print money?
no, it's the Bureau of the,
I don't mean physically print, who decides how much money is gonna be in,
the Fed does.
and when they do print more money, that deflates?
And so, I
Yeah, when
just,
they print
I'm
money,
gonna
I
give,
lose
like,
money.
I'm gonna give you,
Here.
I'm gonna split hairs here. You know, the Fed technically does not print money. It loans us, it actually borrows from us. So if you read your dollar bills, it says Federal Reserve Note. And what you've done is you've exchanged your labor for a piece of paper that is a loan.
It's a trust note.
Yes. So it's a medium of exchange. It has the features of money, but if you're like, it's not like a currency like the euro. It's actually a loan that you've made to the Federal Reserve, like to a government entity.
You might need to
And then
explain
you
how the
can-
euro is different.
So the euro is, it's not based on, I mean, it's not a loan. It like actually is it's like they could give you gold or they could give you the euro. It's coming from the
It's
treasuries.
backed.
Yeah.
And ours isn't backed by anything, and that's what I would love for our country to get back to, and especially you see this, all the huge banks across the world, they're buying up gold like crazy for a reason. Cause they see the incoming crash, and what's to protect all the poor and middle class people? All the Fed's gonna do is devalue all our bank accounts all over again, so it'll be like 2008.
So
all
that's
over
what
again.
inflation does.
Correct.
The inflation devalues your bank accounts.
But printing the money does, so if I have if we have 1,000 widgets,
Mm-hmm.
it makes them valuable. But then if
Mhm.
we have 1,000,000 widgets, it's not as valuable anymore. That's
Right.
exactly what they do with the dollar.
I
So they
know,
print more,
but you've
it's no
just,
longer
you've
valuable.
just pointed out, what I'm saying is that the Fed has one tool. What you need to do is, you need to stop killing the energy industry. You need to, send people to training so they can increase productivity. That's the only way that you can, like, make a real change in the economy. You have to change the real economy so that the Fed doesn't have to mess around with the financial
So
economy.
you need this guy in office instead of some really whose economics are closer to Vladimir Putin.
Well, we can easily agree on that. So, but so the circumstances are, to grow an economy, you need to have productivity.
You need to
of
have
some kind.
Right.
So what's the coming businesses that you see happening in your district that we need to promote?
I talked about a lot of them. I think that energy,
Obviously.
yeah, and then, healthcare is an industry,
It's right.
And here it's very big.
and here it's very big. Why? So I don't understand why they're fighting the job creators.
But are
So-
you also attuned to the technology industries here in Pittsburgh?
Absolutely. So the robotics industry is going to be big.
And rail?
And, well, I used to work for Wabtec.
Okay.
Yes, yes. And they just, well, they acquired GE, but really, inside scoop, GE really acquired them.
Yeah,
But yeah, so now, and so that's the second largest rail products company after Siemens now. And they're right here in Pittsburgh.
Well, we also mentioned Mitsubishi here too, and their big product is the wayside.
And then Eaton, I don't know if you know Eaton Electrical out in Moon Township, it's the old Westinghouse, well, yeah, you already used
The
to be,
DSBU, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so.
I finished my career working for a spinoff that Ramatone bought from DSBU. So,
Okay,
yes.
so Eaton Electrical is the largest, or maybe second
Manufacturer of
largest
electrical goods
of
in
electrical
America.
goods in the world. Right,
Siemens is slightly larger.
Yeah, that's why I said second largest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right here in Pittsburgh. So we have some really strong industries, but we have people that are fighting them, and it makes zero sense. Makes zero sense. And the only way you can depower the Fed is to invest in the real economy. Make the real economy work, then they don't have to do anything.
America worked before that, and it says
It
in
didn't.
our Constitution that, well, the whole reason,
Well,
when the
so-
Fed was instituted, we were at least backed by a gold standard.
But before the Fed, you know, every bank in every state, now we're gonna go into monetary
Please.
history. Every bank in every state made their own currency. So I actually have some great, like I started
But
collecting.
it's either way, that institution, it should be Congress, not an
So-
institution like, so say you weren't a good guy, you say you're a great guy, but say you weren't a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
and you're in the Fed, how do I get rid of you? And you're in control of my money supply.
Oh, you
I
can-
can't. I literally can't. I can't vote you out, and I never voted for you, so how do I get rid of you? But I can get rid of a senator. I can go online and go, this senator did this congressman did this, get rid of them. I can't get rid of
So
them.
you can get rid of the Fed. And in fact, because the Fed is a creation of Congress.
Correct.
And the Fed can be destroyed by Congress.
But it just seems like passing off, like that's like one of the main responsibilities Congress was supposed to have. That was their main responsibility, and then they passed it off to a third party.
But it's no different than
Which is
saying
great.
that like their main responsibility is the common defense and they pass it off to, you know, the military.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I mean,
fair, but
they
it
created the
doesn't-
military to implement one of their main
But
activities.
that's all outlined in the Constitution for them to do that way.
Yeah,
right?
so they,
But this isn't the federal, but again, it's just the one thing. I love everything else you said. I'm just very, very based. Okay, James, I can't help myself.
Did
you mean biased? No, based.
Okay.
It means based.
The thing is, though, Chris, if Congress didn't put all these bills where they put things, listen, in the state, they got 13 pages. In Washington, you got 1,300 pages in a bill, and you don't know what they buried into the bill. And then it says, it's supposed to be for this, and then you
Yeah,
find
all
out
the
there's 6
omnibus
other
packages,
things.
right.
So that's where we get in trouble. So you get somebody who's actually gonna take time to find out what's in the bill, you know, not Nancy Pelosi, you gotta pass it to understand what you're saying. I mean, that makes no sense, that's terrible.
Oh, James already has one of the, I'm just trying to get you
Yeah,
to switch
no.
on that one thing, that's all.
I'm just saying, I'm just, yeah, no, I think it's, I mean, I don't know, Summerlin makes me crazy. There's a sign at the bottom of Northern Pike on that hillside, hers, somebody.
I know it's from 2 years ago.
Somebody take that down, if I wasn't gonna get hit by a truck, I would take that down.
I thought some cities have ordinances. that
Yeah,
you start
well,
finding
You
them,
do,
like, very-
you do,
collecting.
it's been sitting there.
Send her a bill.
I should. You're
I
right.
drive around 48 hours after election, killing myself, getting
Trying
all
to
our
get them all
signs
out.
up.
So do I.
That's
don't get any
been there
calls.
since she, yes.
Dude, listen to a lot of this, and just
The bottom of the hill is
with
what it is.
education,
And you're just
you know,
so
I hear a lot of this.
and it's right there.
We're gonna get our children educated to get a great degree and move them forward and everything else. But a lot of times I see something being taken away too. You gotta have people with hands and the skills to
Oh,
make
yeah.
these things.
But that's part of it.
There used to be a big thing in Pennsylvania, at least
Okay.
western Pennsylvania had trade schools.
Yep.
Some of the
Half a
best
day at
companies.
school, half a day at trade school. Because not everybody's, I wasn't destined for
Sure, no, absolutely,
college.
absolutely,
Couldn't
yeah.
afford it. I wasn't educated enough, and I didn't want to go to college. I made a great career as a tool and die maker.
Good for you.
And-
Good.
And the only thing that helped me out was, I always wanted to learn more.
Yep.
And you know what,
Come up and say,
you're gonna be more useful against China than the 40,000 lawyers we graduate every year.
Hey, they can write up a mean bill.
so I hope there's something in.
Oh, absolutely.
in that,
And in fact,
or
community
something.
colleges, I believe, are, we need to invest more in them, because that's where a lot of that training takes place. And that's, absolutely, I 100% agree.
One of the bigger ones that they have is at the Valley High School. And then that's a lower, income. But it's still a good place for employers to go and try to find and help get, young people jobs in the manufacturing.
No, I think they're the most, most cost-efficient way to educate and build productivity in the economy. And again, if you don't fix the real economy, then, you get the fit.
Any comment on the unfunded mandates of $212 trillion and the deficit of $34 trillion?
It's bad.
Good enough for me, yeah.
I think we're guilty on both sides. Because,
We're wrong for asking and they're wrong for giving.
so here, I have this wild idea that when the next time there's a threatened default, we should just default.
Exactly.
Because, if you think about companies, the only way if they're profligate, the only way they get control is if they go bankrupt, and then the lenders impose restrictions on them.
And restrict, yes.
There is no one that will impose restrictions on us.
It's a discipline.
Because,
Yep.
bankers, as long as you pay the interest, they don't care if you ever pay the principal.
Correct.
So, people will keep lending to us as long as we can do the debt service, which, at $19 trillion, we can service we can probably service 5 times, like if you do corporate type things, you can probably service 5 times the debt. So that's a big number. But there's no one imposing control on us right now. There's no one imposing discipline.
But yeah,
It's frightening to
And-
think
and-
who that might be.
And you know what? And, well, that's why you have to keep a strong military.
Thank you.
But, what was I gonna say?
A savvy military, one that understands who the enemy is.
Yeah, well, that too.
man.
But lenders will keep lending as long as you can pay the debt service. So we need to get discipline,
I agree.
and maybe it needs to be imposed.
I agree.
Could I make a suggestion, Chris, for the good of the order? This is a thrilling meeting with James. Could we do the treasurer vote?
I was just
and
about to
then-
be like, yeah.
And then have petitions and extended conversation if he can stay, okay?
James, you have time to hang out, or you taking off from what I?
So,
And-
I'm supposed to be in Pleasant Hills before 9.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, so you definitely have to
Huh?
go.
Do you have
Bring
a
your-
petition?
I did, oh, yeah.
No, oh yeah, I also have one on, here that Shirley printed out. She gave me all kinds of petitions, so I got a bunch here too. But the more the merrier.
Anyone willing to go out and,
Yeah, that's on.
He wants to go out and talk.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, no, I just don't have time for it.
Yeah, I do have a bunch of petitions up here. Shirley was nice enough.
Is his?
So, yeah, I also have one up here for James.
those are just instructions in the front.
I think every single candidate, there's so many, it's crazy. She printed
Okay.
them out.
Okay, or I could come pick it up, it's like 20 minutes.
Are you getting enough support from the Republican committee for your campaign?
So,
Are you getting
so, like,
Yeah,
you're talking about,
oh,
you're talking about the
sorry,
NRCC, I say the NRCC is like God, they help those that help themselves, so.
really?
It's gonna, so, you really have to gain momentum. Now, there are a couple of things that are positive. Like across the river in Chris Deluzio's district, that's one of the 35 targeted districts in the country for the NRCC, because that's like a R+2 district, and we're a D+8, so they're gonna try and get that because they have, a Democrat there. The great thing about that is that the way they're gonna defeat Chris Deluzio is by tying him to Summer Lee. So they're gonna be saying bad things about Summer Lee at the same time they're talking about Chris Deluzio. And they're gonna be pouring millions of dollars into the same TV market on him. So, it's gonna be a halo effect from all the investment.
James, we'll also keep you apprised, there were some emails going around this week, creating a closer central steering group between Murraysville and Monroeville.
Oh, yeah,
and
yes,
Plum.
yes.
So, we'll be handshaking with you and working together on all that as we move on, and gladly.
Perfect.
We will be doing that. We cannot, the October 7th thing really put the Summer Lee nonsense into high visibility. I'll just share quickly, I was having lunch in Squirrel Hill, and I know these people from the Squirrel Hill Community Coalitions are all hardcore Democrats and Post-Gazette writers and stuff, and they were really down on her. And they're like, oh, the community is not gonna support her anymore.
Now, she
You've
does
gotta
have-
get into Squirrel Hill, and that's the Democratic power in
Yeah,
the
so
city.
I'm delayed getting in there because she has 2 primary opponents.
Yes,
And maybe a third is what I hear. One of them was actually, Bhavini Patel. She was actually recruited by AIPAC.
right.
So until their primary's done, they're gonna be focused on trying to get Bhavini to be
Right.
the candidate. I think what that she has going against her is that Summer Lee has the teachers union and the SEIU, who are gonna be knocking on doors and doing, collecting ballots maybe even, but, and she has Sarah Innamorato, who now controls the machine, right? Because she's the county executive.
Yeah.
And so I've been joking to people that I have a better chance of beating Summer Lee than Patel does, because I think the machine will just crush her. I mean, she's like former Rich Fitzgerald's communications director, and so, there's just bad blood between
Right.
the old and the new, if you will.
Well, we're looking at a 55-45 district. It's not out of bounds,
No.
considering Biden's terrible numbers.
Terrible numbers.
All you gotta do is change 5 hearts, and then it's a coin flip.
Right.
With a 55-45, you change 5 hearts, bingo, it's a coin flip. Excuse me.
Fred, how far into Murraysville does this district go? I
Oh,
forget. Is it all
It
Murraysville or-
includes Delmont.
It's
yeah.
all the way
No,
into
no,
Delmont?
it depends on where you are in Delmont.
66?
Yeah, it's like, like part of Delmont's in 14 and part of Delmont's in this one.
Okay.
But it goes all the way to Jeanette.
So it's all.
It's all of Murraysville.
Yeah.
It's
and
all in
then-
Murraysville,
yeah,
part of Delmont,
Yeah.
because they'll vote for you. in
Oh,
a
yeah.
heartbeat.
I'll get all the Irwin vote. Actually, but there are a lot of moderate to conservative Democrats in places like Bethel Park and South
Oh,
Park.
absolutely.
I think the Rocky vote was really instructive.
And we have them in Monroeville too.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah, Monroeville as well. So, I believe I'll get crossover votes. There's not a lot of enthusiasm for Joe Biden. For whatever you wanna say about Trump, I'm telling you, like, as I go around the district, there is a lot of enthusiasm, So, I think all of that is what I call there's like an alignment of the stars, where this will be the time that we flip this seat. I say I'll win the first time. The second time is gonna be harder, because they're gonna get somebody reasonable to run the second time. But I'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I would hold my breath on that one.
James, thank you again for
Thank
stopping
you.
by.
Thank you.
I'm sure you gotta take off. Would definitely love to have you back
Jim,
sometime,
Jim.
but I'm sure
It's
you're a
right.
busy man.
Okay.
Did you wanna, she has it over there.
Well, so how about if we connect, and
Yeah,
I
definitely.
can just drive over and pick it up?
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
you think you'll need another one? Or does anyone else wanna?
I also have another one right here for
Okay.
you.
Oh, okay, great.
Along with that one, so there should be plenty of room.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we can connect with you somehow, some way. I'll, reach out to you, or I'll have Len reach out to you.
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, seriously, thank you so much for coming by.
No, thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it.